This podcast beauty company, even if you're not to neglect any of our small businesses that might be in the health, wealth sector, or and that's a little bit of brands that survive while developing people to thrive. And because what we know is that we can grow a brand to be bigger than us. Each and every week that I do this podcast, I just loaded every single one of my podcasts onto YouTube. So there are 64 podcasts on YouTube, including the one we're going to have today here. But I'm your host, Bonnie Bonadeo, so I'm glad to have you guys with me today. All right, I've got a special guest that I'm going to be introducing here in just a minute. And really, I think where we may go is just kind of state of humanity, state of the world, because now more than ever, I think we can all see that the impact of global issues and trends carry down and infiltrate all the way down into our small businesses. So my guest today is April McDaniel. She's an industry CPA for Kopsa. Okay, so tell me if I always say this wrong.
Otte.
Is it Otte or Otte? Otte, Kopsa Otte.
Yes,
like
Otte.
OT. All right, got it. Yeah, I always say it a little differently.
Everybody
I think,
does.
each and every time. But I've known April for many years, and I've also known Larry Kopsa for many years, who way back in the days when I was working with PBA and we were doing a lot of salon association work, Larry Kopsa was a big part of supporting salons back in the day. And now we have beautiful April that is kind of supporting us and being the face of our industry in regards to her bringing some really great information to us in regards to operational finance, tax information. And as a CPA, you're going to hear a little bit more of what we have lined up other than this podcast. So definitely listen to the end here. Now, one of the things that I always share in every single podcast is the framework that I built this podcast around. And it's what I call the SUM framework. And you could kind of say, some people will get it and some people won't. Some people will be successful and some people won't. But truly, these are the 5 pillars of success that businesses over the course of many years in the industry is to be able to have a good understanding and good business savviness in these 5 areas: sales, operations, mindset, marketing, and education. And obviously, sales, I think that we understand. Even though we might understand what sales is, I still see our industry kind of buckling against selling. They feel like selling is a bad word. But I can tell you that your greatest success is when you teach people to have great conversations that make selling very easy. Operations, of course, is I think an arena that April includes your finances, your numbers, your systems, your operational success, but also leadership, because you have to have strong leadership in order to have any of those systems in place. Of course, mindset is a big one today, because I think we can all agree that if you're not in the right frame of mind, everything is 10 times harder. And the last couple of years have certainly challenged us in that mindset arena. And I think more than anything, this is where we want to be able to help. So even though we called this podcast State of the Industry into us here, into this and in the future events that we're going to be sharing. And of course, after we talk about mindset, then one of the things that I find my clients they get really jazzed up about their goals and what they want to sell, right? For the year, the number they want to reach. And they understand that there are systems that happening, and they get it into their mindset and they're all excited. And then what happens is that they fall short in 2 areas that actually bring this full circle. And it's marketing and education. Like, how are you going to make it happen? So if sales is really kind of the plan and the goal and the intention you want to do, marketing is the tool of how you are going to do it. And then of course, education, what do you need to learn? What do they need to learn? What do you need to teach? And that's a big part of how we all grow. So this is where I say, it's about building brands that survive and developing people to thrive, because unless you're being continually educated, you don't have that opportunity to thrive. So April's going to definitely support us here in the thriving economy that we're all looking for. So the state of the industry, finding the love in all we've done. Now, I want to, April, I want to take this down a path here with the state of the industry, is to be able to really allow people to be present and enjoy the successes of what they've gained time in business. And certainly a very trying time in a service-based business like what we are in and represent. So I want to make sure that people see the love in that and that they can really appreciate what they've accomplished. And I say be an anchor in a world of changing values, because every day something is a little bit different and we have to ground our growth that we want. Now, last week, I did a podcast, and I did it in 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes. And I shared with you guys how to be able to do a strategic plan for yourself in 2022 in less than 30 minutes. So what I'm saying is go back and listen to that podcast, download the free workbook that I put together for you, carve out 1 hour at a time, and do your strategic plan based on the SUM framework. Do your strategic plans to each and every one of those categories that we talked about. If you go to bonniebenedeo.com store, SOS-2022-strategy-plan-workbook, take a picture of it right now if you're watching this on YouTube, but certainly I'll post it in the comments if you're listening to this as a podcast, along with some other links before it's all over. The setup of closing out our year in 2021, but in the opening up of our year in 2022 was to be able to find mentors and resources this year that are going to keep your head above water. And I believe that that's what and who April is all about. So please welcome April McDaniel from Kopsa Otte. Did I say it right?
Yeah, I'm so excited
CPA and financial advisor special. April will share a little bit more of like who that fit for this organization. Nonetheless, if maybe you're not quite that perfect fit in the information that they resource to be able to share with us as an industry as a whole, so that we can continually be educated on changing things that are happening in our operational world of our business, including taxing, accounting, new laws that are coming out that might impact us as small businesses. So here, but let's just start from here. Like, where do you see the state of the industry at this point?
Well, first of all, I love your focus, and that is to focus in on, what we have to be thankful for and grateful for. There are certainly a lot of things that we could sit back and be frustrated about, but I believe there's true power in taking those things and letting that create really important. What's really happened, I think, in the last couple of years outside of the pandemic, but probably caused by the pandemic, is so many small business owners, salons and spas, is that you're in an industry where people love you. People care about what you're doing every day. They need you. They love that you touch them. And you play a big role in their lives. If I think about the wonderful time that I get to spend with my hairdresser and how she listens to me, and whether we're talking about the color that she's going to use on my hair that time, or if we're talking about our kids and how school is going for them, or our spouses and our most recent trip, it's a time that we all enjoy. And I think that that's a beautiful part about this industry, is that, you have the power to take that, maybe those negative things that have happened, and let's focus in on how to use that to make things better. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited. Bonnie mentioned, we work in 43 states across the country with salons and ones. And, we see the challenges that are ahead of you. We try to look at those as opportunities, though. How do we take those things that you're facing today? I know when we're managing, how to keep good people, and how do we do that? And I think it all goes back to you thinking about me in the beauty industry. Yeah. How do you cultivate that and create that culture? Does that make sense? I mean, is that what you think too?
Oh,
Bonnie?
yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, and tell me if, am I echoing or am I a little choppy right now that you can hear?
You're okay. You're okay right now.
All right. We might adjust your microphone or see if you can create some clarity on yours. You were bouncing a little bit,
okay.
But I still was able to hear you. But hey guys, this is another one of those things that we're up against that are happening, because we went from 100% in real life business, and now we're kind of in real life and digitally learning. So I'm grateful for these opportunities. And to carry on what you were saying, it's when I said that, it feels like when you're not in love, we really forget sometimes the love that we have with our clients, with our teams, the love of the creativity, the craft, the art that we experience. And I know you want to see everybody get back to that. So
I see many of you as some of the most generous people that I know. Of your time, of your talents. When I think about the many business owners that I've sat down with over the last, concern isn't most of the time in and taking care of their clients. How do I do that? And so, that generosity makes this industry different. It just does. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I can hear you a lot better when we went off screen here a little bit. So
okay.
I hope that that's okay. It definitely was impacting it. I think it might be time for me to get a new computer, and that freaks me out.
Well,
That
Bonnie, you have to look at that as an opportunity. You'll have to
it is,
learn a little
it is
bit.
definitely an opportunity. But
Mhm.
you know, there's work involved in switching systems, and here I am like sharing how important it is to have good systems in place in order to be effective. And I clearly see that maybe it's my computer that is the system that needs to be renewed here. So if we look at kind of the sum strategy and things from a general point, when we look at state of the industry, April, do you feel like, you know, 2020 happened, there were shutdowns that were at varying lengths across, you know, the country and the world at this point, but do you see what we came off of in 2021 as still being a more prosperous year than anticipated, than thought?
That's interesting. I think that it varies based on where you are in the country. I think that there still are some areas that are experiencing the economic uncertainty of the pandemic. For our client base, I'd say that's in the upper eastern part of the country where that's happening maybe a little bit more. And then I would also include far to the west, the state of California in that. I would say most of our salon and spa clients that are in the Midwest, maybe the lower eastern part of the country, they're really starting to rebound. And I think there's some key things that are happening there. There's a couple things that are out of your control as a business owner, and that is the fear that I think some of public still has. But I think there are a lot of things that you do have control over. And that's what I think we need to focus on, is that those positive things, the things that you can control, and try not to get too overwhelmed by the things you can't. You know, if we think about our personal lives, and I'm really excited that you talked about strategic planning in the last podcast. I'm guessing that you talked about not just business, but personal type growth goals and things like that. And really, the reality is our personal lives are so much more important than work, because if our personal lives are okay and our personal lives are functioning the way that makes us happy, brings us joy, maybe in this year of rejuvenation, I'll call it, then our business life follows suit. If we can, you know, breathe happiness and joy to other people, I think that not only does that help us personally, but it carries over professionally, and creating that culture in your salon where we're only going to focus on the positive. We're not going to focus on the negative. That brings good vibes. It brings clients. It brings, you know, your people will want to be in that environment.
Yeah, that is so true. And although in the strategic planning, you know, the part that I do focus on as personally is under mindset, because if you're not happy, your business is not going to be happy. Your team is not going to be happy. Your clients are not going to be happy. And so there is that part of it, and it sits in the middle, because it's either going to impact your growth or your stagnation or your loss,
Yep.
you know, depending on where you're going. So mindset is really that place where I'm like, what is the experience that you need in order to find that love again, in order to feel joy, in order to, you know, stand in front of your team and empathize with how difficult it's been and still keep moving forward. So,
well, and I think we could get so busy that we forget that it's important for us to take that time. I was talking to one of our owners in the Atlanta area just yesterday, and his wife is the lead stylist, and he himself runs a lot of the operations side of the business. And, you know, they have many, many children, and he's like, we don't have time. And I think, you know, the time is now. You need to take that time, even if it's a few hours at a local restaurant where you just order a couple drinks and a couple appetizers, and you sit down and you think, you know, what are my goals? What makes me happy? And then from there, you know, really start dialing in on, how do I get myself back there? Why, you know, what has happened over the last couple of years that has driven me away from there, and how do I get back there? can I share a personal story? Is that
Oh,
okay?
please. Yeah.
Here in March will be 8 years since my husband and I's oldest child passed away very suddenly. And, that's something that I hope no one else has experienced. The unfortunate thing is that there's a lot of people that have experienced loss in their life. But, I went through a period of time where, how is the sun even coming up? What is going on? How can the world move forward? And I think as business owners, the last couple of years has created a period of grieving for people.
Mhm.
And I can tell you that really there's some key things that got me through that period of time. And I'm not saying that it's over. I think that, that's a journey that I'll be on forever. But, I had to focus on what are my goals, what makes me happy. I had to find new things.
Yeah.
And that's what's allowed me to move forward and try to help other people. Kopsa Otte has we've got a great culture here, and we really work hard to make sure that everybody understands that really their home life is more important than work. And we work really hard to share that, I guess, vibe with our clients and with those folks that know us and trust us. And I think that you can truly be successful if you really focus in on those things that make you happy.
And that's so true. And last night, that was one of the things that we did. So it was like, we had plenty of food in the house. We could have easily made dinner, but it was like, no, we need to go out. We need to just have a glass of wine. We need to share a dinner. We need to just find that moment of appreciation, because the anticipation of coming into a new year, the anxiety, I mean, as you know, my fiance, Jeff, who's the salon owner for Intrigue Salon, and then I'm the marketing director for Intrigue Salon. You panic when it comes to January because you think you're going to lose more staff. Like, this is when people shift. And with the great resignation going on right now, there's a lot of shifting. So I think there's just that, like, you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop feeling when you come into a new year. And last night we just enjoyed a nice dinner, and we just talked about, what our goals and dreams were, because we've been working hard.
Mm-hmm.
We've been
And
working
what I
really
want you to
hard.
think about is not when the next shoe is going to drop, but think about, if you think about that half cup, half full, half empty thing, what are all the things that you have to be grateful for? And how do we take that and build on that? Because, the reality is, if we focus in on the negative, it's going to do nothing but make us negative. And so
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
And, think of the new year as a way to rebuild and, like I said, rejuvenate those things. That's actually the word that the firm picked as our word.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mine is relatable. And instead of like the way that it's typically spelt, like relate, I put real.
Awesome.
Relatable.
Yeah.
Because what I feel like has happened is we've lost a sense of our realness in trying to manage the levels of stress and the all of what's happening around us. We're feeling like we have to be overly protective in many ways in our life, not just health, business, spiritually, all these things. We feel like we need to be overprotective. And it's like, you know what, this is my year where I'm just going to be real.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I haven't been, but there certainly has been a lack of feeling like I had a voice.
Yep. Well, and I think we have to think about, I think that happened even before the pandemic. I think so many people are busy living up to what the other person has next door, or, seeing on TV what everybody has. And the reality is, all of those things are not what makes us happy. I mean, yes, if you have all the money in the world, it probably makes life a little less stressful at times. But the reality is that if you have your health and you have your family and you have those things that are most important to you, the rest of that doesn't matter. And, I think about ways that we can level up. That's what I want to call it. How do we level up?
Mm-hmm.
I think for small business owners, getting so involved in the day to day and letting that fester and frustrate you. How do we help make it so you can just deal with that and move on? And I think that takes some really good concentration on what's important. I think about, at my house, my husband doesn't always put his clothes in the hamper. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. But, Brian and I've been married for 17 years. I have to pick my battles, and that's not one I'm going to pick, And so when you think about the salon and you think about the fact that you have these great technicians and stylists and producers that work for you, or maybe you're the, behind the chair, and you think about the fact that they came in and they were upset, and maybe they didn't put the shampoo bowl or they didn't put the color bowl back where it's supposed to be. Let's just deal with it and move on. Maybe it was just a bad day. Why?
Or a busy day, which is never a bad thing.
That's a great day. And obviously I'm simplifying it, but let's figure out what's really important. And if we know our team and we know what's important to them, that's going to help keep them around. One of the things Kopsa Otte does, and I realize we're an accounting firm, it's different, but we're still a small business. And one of the things they do is they ask every single one of us twice a year, what's most important to you? For some people, it's money. For some people, it's flexibility. And for others, it's benefits. And for some, it's training and education and the ability to be promoted. You can, and Bonnie, you can relate to this, I'm sure. You can try to use a all over same approach for every member of your team and find out that you made a few of them happy and the other ones aren't, or you can find out what makes each one of them drive and try to use that to make each one of them in their unique way be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And, that's really, we can say that we can talk in business terms all day long, but when we can kind of just really ask people what's important to you, then we know how to help them. Yes. Then we know how to contribute to what the ask is. Mm-hmm. Then we can determine, is it a business strategy that they need? Is it personal flexibility that they desire? Is it more money so they can buy a house or a car? Then the ask then becomes, let me show you how we can make this happen for you. And that's when the strategy starts diving deeper. And that's when systems put into place can also help all of us be more successful in that. Right. So
if you don't ask the question, though, you don't know where the opportunity lies, and so I think it's just so important to do that. Like you said, we can talk about taxes. We can talk about whatever you want. We can talk about this new reporting that Venmo has to do and Zelle has to do, which everybody's all in a craze about. But the reality, those are the laws. That's just what's going to happen. And we'll probably talk about that on our
we are
live session.
Which is a great segue here for me to let everybody know while we're listening at this midpoint here, that April is doing an Ask the Accountant with me next week live in my Facebook group, SOS Small Biz Success. And then it kind of is dash and it ends with my name. So that's when you'll find the right Facebook group. She's going to be live with us in that group, and it's Ask the Accountant. So the Venmo questions, the PayPal questions, the tax questions, any of those type of questions that you have, that's going to be the forum for you guys to ask. And I'll share with you a little bit more before we close out our session today. So thank you for that segue.
Yeah, I'm excited to do that. I think that's going to be fun. But honestly, Bonnie, I love the opportunity to talk about really how we elevate our mindset and how we rejuvenate our thoughts and our feelings of joy in this industry. Even more today than I like talking about tax. So this is fun. Absolutely. This is fun for me.
We're 2 years, we're in year 3 of this pandemic, but I still have lots of hope that it is going to be eradicated and it is going to be, dealt with, and we're all going to be able to survive and manage it to the best that we can, even if it sticks around like an annual flu, right?
Right.
But I really do, from this point of view of me being in business and being able to support salon businesses, and even being in my salon with, the Jeff salon, us together working on that. The last couple of years have really, I think, really allowed people to take that 30,000 foot view of what do you want to be doing here? Because we were running on old systems. We were running on the way the business used to have to be run. We were counting our blessings for everything that we had, but we didn't stop to plan a better future. And I think the last couple of years really forced us all to look at our businesses, decide what our business was lacking, decide what was working well in our business, and kind of make those shifts. And what it did is, I think it made us happier. Like, I felt like we have things in place now that are making our lives easier. We have systems and better communication so that you don't have to keep putting out little fires all the time. Because, when you work with people and you work with the public, it's a big part of it, is constantly managing the little fires that show up. So I like the idea that we've all had to kind of take a quick review and make the change, and not feel like we have to do everything in order to be successful.
I think we have to remember that it's okay to just bite off a little bit at a time. And I think that's what the last few years has done is, and the thing is, when we were trying to do all of those things, we weren't really successful at very many of them at all.
Oh, no, we really were under this guise that multitasking was keeping us alive and surviving. But I think what we realized, and this is a big part of like my communication and my SOS coaching product, is that we were only surviving. We weren't thriving. Thriving requires you to really plan out what you desire, and not just from business strategies, personal life goals as well.
Right. Well, and I'll just take it to business for a minute here. Think about a budget. If you work on a budget for your business, and I hope you do, I hope every single one of you has a budget for your business and your personal life. Because if you have a budget, you're telling your money where to go instead of your money telling you what to do. And that is so important. So if you think about a budget, though, there are so many people that touch that and so many people that have control of it. So if I'm talking about just the income side of the budget, and I put together a service income goal and I put together a retail income goal, okay? Seems pretty simple, right? Well, there's a bunch of stuff that builds up to that. All of my technicians should know what their personal goal is in order to get to the organizational goal. Because if you were to say to me, okay, I plan to have $2 million in sales this year, and 150 to 200,000 of that's going to be retail and the rest is going to be service sales. I'm going to say to you, okay, who on your team is going to make up those retail sales, and who on your team's making up those service sales? And tell me every month how much their goals are. And are you communicating with them? Are you sitting down with them? Because if you put together this budget and all you do is have that big number in your head and you don't have a way to get there, it doesn't work.
Well, and what we know to be true is that people make it work. So if you're not really spending time with the people and you're not with the people, then the people are not going to make it work for you.
Right.
This is the challenge, which I also, I want to just let everybody know when April does the Ask the Accountant next Wednesday, January 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Central. When she does this, I want everybody to know that whether you're an independent contractor, a suite owner, a salon, a spa, you're all welcome to bring questions to the table for this, because this is one of the bigger challenges that we're faced with in our industry. Is it's very fragmented right now. And this fragmentation that we're up against is we have to start learning how to work smarter, not harder. And sometimes when you put yourself in an independent position, you just end up realizing that you're just working harder because you don't have resources to be able to have somebody else be doing. It's you're kind of wearing every hat.
Yep. I think that's really key. I mean, you have to be a business person first. If you've recently left a salon to go do your own suite, what you're realizing right now is now all of a sudden you have income tax responsibilities. You have to go get your own color. Maybe before your salon owner was keeping it all on the shelf for you, and now all of a sudden you're having to cash flow it,
Yeah. And what are those things that they need to be tracking? These are great questions to bring to the Ask the Accountant next week. What are the things that you really need to be tracking? Because, we understand if you have a budget or a profit and loss statement, cash flow statement, that there's a certain amount of expenses that you're having to invest in order to buy the supplies that you need in order to do the services that you want. But there's a lot of sidebar things that sometimes we don't think about, could be those potential write-offs. Or things that are going to, save us money or lower our tax bracket ability. And April is the expert in this, so she is going to be able to answer those questions for you. And, that kind of leads us to this last part here, April, is education. We saw this transformation. I had clients pre-COVID that couldn't figure out how to get on a Zoom call. And I'm thinking, do you buy stuff on Amazon? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, so you click a link, right? Like you either have the app and you go on the app and you buy stuff, or you click a link called Amazon.com and then it takes you into Amazon. I said, it's no different. Zoom is no different. Now obviously there was microphone issues and camera issues and things like that, like even what we've dealt with today a little bit. But the big transformation, I think, is that we all realized we needed to be a little bit more digital savvy and learning, even in this capacity, digitally through podcasts, through, YouTube channels, through live education, is a great resource for us. And we have to continue down that path of finding what we need to learn and then finding the great resources that are going to teach it. And you guys, this is where April is a great resource for us, for sure, to be able to help teach that. So, all right, anything else you want to wrap up for this state of the industry?
I would just, I guess, send a message out that how grateful I am to the industry. I am excited to be a part of this industry. I'm not shy about the fact that this is these types of things I get to do with Bonnie are one of my favorite types of things to do. I could sit in a cubicle and do accounting or do tax, and that would not make me thrive. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited about where the industry is going. I have seen people roll up their sleeves and do some really exciting things over the last couple of years. People and owners are realizing how important it is to be that business person and to really take their own personal goals to heart and achieve the things that they want. And I think it's going to be a fun ride over the next few years. I am really excited to be a part of it.
Oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to share my screen right now, you guys. So my audio might sound a little crazy, but let me go back to sharing my screen here, because I want to give you these dates that April's going to be doing. So next week is, it's going to come up here. Okay, good. Here we go. There we go. There we go. Next week, Wednesday, January 26th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. April's going to be joining us in my Facebook group, SOS Small Biz Success. Okay, so if you're not part of that group, now, so that you can do that. And then no question, she'll probably have a disclaimer at the beginning of it, just because there's certain information she may not be privy to being able to share based on the questions, but I'm sure she'll follow up with you. And then there's another program that we want to share with you. It's Fall in Love with Your Salon Spa Again. That is a webinar masterclass that's taking place on Monday, February 21st. 2 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Central. Here's the link that you can sign up for it right now. It's a bit.ly link. So you're going to go to bit.ly/loveyoursalonbiz. Okay, so just put in the typical bit.ly link, the HTTPS. I'm going to put this in the comments, you guys, when this gets posted out there. And listen, she's going to talk about the business of the business, benchmarks, target goals, updates on tax, and to your team and to your staff and to you with everything that you're doing. So not just about taxes, right,
Nope,
April?
not just about taxes.
A little bit of everything. Now, one of the things that I'm going to do on some of my other Facebook pages and groups is I'm going to let everybody know about this Ask the Accountant on Wednesday, and I'm going to start a live session. And of course, it'll be recorded and we'll make it available to anybody to view as a replay. But I'm going to reach out and I'm going to start saying, what questions do you have for April, the accountant? And can you join us on Wednesday for this live thing so that we can get some questions coming in? I know for sure we're going to cover this Venmo information. I know for sure you're going to cover anything that would be a new tax law for 2022. And I know for sure that you're probably going to talk about, how to set up, a great resource to be able to help with that bookkeeping, accounting, CPA, tax arena. Because I think some people, they don't even know how to find the right person. Maybe Kopsa Otte is not, not the ideal organization for you if you're maybe an independent or small business. But how do you find the right person? So she's going to answer all the questions for us next week. And then we'll promote the webinar on as April commits to sharing the love and sharing the financial information that we need to know in order to get past surviving and get to thriving.
Rejuvenate.
And rejuvenate, right? She's going to make it very relatable too.
Yes. Can't wait.
There, we incorporated all of our 2022 words in there.
Yay!
Yeah. All right, you guys. So be sure to join us. Again, I want to make sure that there's a disclaimer even on the conversation that we had today that, is important, to understand here that because every situation is different, it's important that individuals seeking specific advice contacts a professional advisor. The information does not constitute legal, tax, accounting, or financial advice and is offered an information service only. No liability whatsoever is assumed in the connection with the use of this information that April has shared with us. So thank you. You guys, we are about building brands that help you survive. But more importantly, we want to help you to thrive. And I look forward to April joining us next week and again in February to continue sharing the wealth of knowledge that we need to have because survival is exhausting. We want to get past survival and get to thrive for sure. Now, join me again as we progress through the rest of this month with more of these podcasts. And I'll have it with you next week. I don't want to interfere with Enneagram. We may even invite April into it to be able to touch base with us on a little bit more financial and operational success pieces in there. So appreciate you joining me. And you can reach out to me if you go to my website, bonniebonadeo.com. You can set up a free complimentary call to be able to say, hey, I think I need help. Or I need a resource. If it's not something I do, I'll certainly provide you. 2022 can be the year of success really, really soon.